In today's video we're gonna mod a pedal because last week we built the guitar and so feels like it's been a while since we did anything with pedals, and I know a lot of you are here for the pedal things, so today we are gonna mod a pedal and we're gonna do a super easy sort of beginner's mod thing. If you have a distortion or a fuzz or something that is clipping the signal, you can do this to that pedal. I'm gonna be using this because I have it and it's lying around. It's an old Ibanez FZ7 and I have a whiteboard because that I just got, so I can do some drawing and teaching you things that way. You know, you gotta invest in the channel. Let's pretend that this here is your signal. I hope you can see what I'm drawing, otherwise this is an epic fail. And clipping is basically lowering the volume and cutting off the highs and the lows and reshaping the signal so that it clips. And that's a very common form of distortion. A very common way to do that is with something called diodes. And what they do basically is they allow you to send the signal one way but not the other way, because current flows in a direction and you can put in a diode that tells you, hey, can't flow in this direction. And they basically look like this. I know this is a crude drawing, but it's basically supposed to be a cylinder with two little wires sticking out on each end that you solder this in place with, and then it has a marking on one side, so you know what you're looking for. They can also be LEDs. LEDs are just a form of diodes, and what you need to do is you have to open the pedal and look inside it. It will have a place where you see two diodes in it, and it looks sort of like this. One is next to the other and they're facing opposite directions. And the thing we're going to do is we're going to remove one of these and we're going to put in a new one. And you can basically put in whatever you want there. You can actually, if you see that you have something else, you can put in an LED. The only thing that matters is you put it in the same orientation. So I suggest you maybe use something that looks similar, or that you look up diodes that have a nice clipping, or you know, something like that people are talking about online as being a good part. This is obviously just a preference thing, so mess around with it and see what happens. That's what I'm gonna do. But by switching out one of them to something else, we will change the clipping, because if you have two of them in it, you will have symmetrical clipping. That means that basically, if we go back to the wave, you're cutting off as many of the highs as of the lows. But if you have asymmetrical, you could have more being cut off or less being cut off on one side. And that's how it becomes asymmetrical. So you might have a wave that looks like this, where you have one ceiling that the wave doesn't really touch, and one bottom where the ceiling do touch and does get clipped. Now, very important thing to know is this will change the loudness. The more you clip the signal, the lower volume your pedal will have, and the more you don't clip the signal, you let through, the louder it will get. If you open up an amp, for example, and they have a distorted channel or a dirt channel or something like that you can press a button to start, to engage. For example, a lot of beginner amps have this function. You will see two LEDs in the format I just showed you, and you can remove those. And if you do that, when you put on the dirt channel, it will still be dirty, but not as dirty. It will actually have a sound that you might like more. I have done this to amps before, but one thing that will happen is that the amp will get crazy loud. So what you normally would think of as volume 10 will maybe be your volume 2 or something like that. So a lot of control of the volume will change on the dirt channel, basically. This will become super simple and easy to do once we open up the pedal. So if you're confused right now, just hang in there and it will make sense very, very soon. But please keep that in mind. We're gonna open up this pedal and we're gonna switch out one of the diodes for the clipping and super quickly just see what happens to the pedal. I'm not super fond of this pedal, so if everything goes sort of to hell, yeah, that's what happens. and I can always put it back together again, you know. So if you take out a part, put it in a little zip bag and tuck it away somewhere, put some masking tape on it, write what it comes from and what it is, and you can put it back to stock if you need to. This is one of those mods that I think is okay for a beginner because you're not really going to do anything that you can't fix. The only thing that matters is that you make sure you keep track of what you're doing. And I'm keeping track of what I'm doing because I'm making a video. So I can always just, you know, subscribe to myself. Was that a funny joke? Oh. Oh, you liked it? Oh, nice. Okay, let's continue. Good. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to remove the screws on the back here. And then we can open up the pedal like so. And here we have the circuit board, which we can then remove the screws for. In my case, there are 2 there and a little spring here that we need to keep track of so that the lid, where you press down the pedal to engage it, works. This pedal actually is attached with pins as well, so you have to pull it out right up like this. Here you can see the pins, and you don't want to like, you can wiggle it out a little bit like this to get it out, but you can't like bend it and pull it because you need these to remain straight. So I am not sure that I'm able to really show you, but hopefully you can see if you look really closely that there are 2 diodes sitting right here. They're basically small cylinders. They are orange, and then they have a line across them that are yellow, and I'm gonna just desolder one of them and I'm gonna replace it. You can also see the writing because every part has a number to it, and they are diodes, so that's why they have a D, and this is the number 6 and number 5, so it's D5 and D6, and it's just because they're sitting very close to each other like this that I know it's the ones, usually the way it looks inside a pedal. So if you're gonna do anything with solder, you need a soldering iron, and that's how you melt solder into place. We're gonna do that really soon, and you're gonna see how to do it. But if you're gonna remove solder, you might need a solder sucker. I prefer this one. It's basically a solder iron with a hollow tip, and that tip is basically like a solder sucker. You put this on the place where you want to suck up. You need to heat it up first, and this isn't plugged in. Be careful so you don't burn yourself. And then you press the button and it sucks it out. Some of these come without the heat thing, and you need to use your solder iron in conjunction with them and hold them in place together and go around like this basically, if this is the soldering iron. And it's a bit fiddly, and these are just as inexpensive as a regular solder sucker, so that's what I like to use. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. You have to flip it over to this side because this is where you do the soldering. You do the soldering on the back, and then you have to find the part, locate it by looking at the front and then the back, and then try to figure out where it is. You can see I made a little mark there with some black permanent marker just so I can find it. I have my soldering my solder sucker here, and I just hold it over the part and I try to melt it and I press it, and you just have to go like this and suck up the solder as good as you can, and it will take a couple of times to press the button to do it. And you have to do both sides because it has 2 legs. Yeah, you just have to suck out enough for the part to basically fall out. That's the goal. And be gentle and don't press too much or be like too rough with it, because you don't want to accidentally destroy. It's not something that I think you will do, so don't worry about it, but just be gentle if you can, or at least try to be. And hopefully now you can see that they are basically little holes here, and the part is sort of wiggling around in there. So now we can just take it out, that little part there, and you should be able to just grab it really easily and just lift it out like that. And all you have to do is put the new part in. I'm gonna put this in a plastic bag to keep it safe, so that if I change my mind later, I can just put the part back where it belongs. Here's the new part, and as you can see, this one is blue and has black ring on the end. And so we're just gonna put it in exactly the same way the other one was and keep the ring on the correct side, which is the same side as the other one was, and keep the legs pretty long when you cut it out. This is a little bit extreme, but it's better to keep them too long, and bend them at a 90-degree angle or something similar like that with some needle nose pliers. And now you can just take this part, and this is maybe going to be a little bit fiddly to see, but we can just take it like this and poke it in through the holes like so. And if it doesn't look very nice, it's okay. This is not a beauty contest. So the part goes through here, and you bend the legs out a little bit so the part holds itself in place. You can see how it basically almost looks like a V. And you take your solder and your soldering iron that has been heated up, and you just put in a tiny bit of solder. You put it on the soldering iron first, and you let it flow down until you get a nice connection. You should only hold the soldering iron in place for a couple of seconds, if even that, just super quickly, because you don't want to accidentally heat something up to the point where it like burns up. Burns up doesn't mean that you start a fire. It means that the part gets overheated and dies, basically, and stops working. And now cut off the XX legs like so, and you can keep the extra legs if you want to use as jumper cables in other projects. And now the mod is done. It's super simple, easy thing. You can do this to any pedal, basically. So that's the end of modding this pedal. Super easy. There's a lot of other things you can do, like changing out the transistors or capacitors or other parts like that. And obviously you can find some of these mods for whatever pedal you have online, and you can go with that. But this is something small and funny you can try out, especially if you have like spare parts lying around that you can just put in and see what happens. You can take parts from something like an old radio or something and just experiment. We're gonna have a demo now of the pedal before and after, and you can decide for yourself what you think. Do keep in mind that things are different when you're actually listening to it and you're not listening to a recording. So take the sound clips with a grain of salt. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was a good one. Talk to me in the comments below if you want to, and don't forget to subscribe. It's a good idea. Yeah, I was about to forget to say that. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and the like button. There is also a bell that you're supposed to click if you feel up for it. And yeah, see you in the next video or something, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, don't forget to stay awesome and cool, and go and mod a pedal, see what you can do, see if it's fun. You can try just removing the clipping diodes completely, but be careful so you don't blow up your amp or something like that, because everything becomes crazy loud. I'm going to keep the controls at noon, and I might have to change the level control a little bit because it might get really, really loud. I don't know. Hopefully it's not insanely loud now, but if it is, you'll not see this video.